That look you give when someone thinks that you're participating in No Shave November, but in reality you're just broke as fuck. Readers, today's lesson is about originality. Now, given the thumbnail that I put in this video, you might be asking yourself, why does LaRon want to talk about originality? I thought he was going to talk about Fallout 4. And that's a brilliant point, because the reason why I want to talk about originality is because of Fallout 4. So if you've been watching my videos as I've been releasing them, then you'll know that Fallout 4 comes out later on this week. And by later on this week, I mean tomorrow. And as you know, Fallout 4 is hugely anticipated all over the world. But the reason why I decided to use Fallout 4 as an example for today's lesson being on originality is because I found something out last week. And what I found out was, according to the latest issue of Game Informer, developers at Bethesda Game Studios use Destiny as a reference point for their gunplay in the game. Now, for those of you who've been living under a fucking rock, Destiny is an MMO FPS that's available on PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, and the Xbone that I have played and enjoyed for many a months. Other people, on the other hand, not so much. Of course, Fallout's main purpose is to be a role-playing game, but it does have a shooter element in it. So to base their new mechanic off of a video game that has, according to a lot of sources and fans, got shooters right to a certain extent, makes about as much sense as somebody who recently figured out that peanut butter is a brilliant source for protein. Because it is. It's fucking peanut butter. I don't know what else you want from me. Now in my case, for somebody who's played Destiny and is planning on playing Fallout 4, me finding out this news actually made sense in my head. But I couldn't help but to think how some people would take this. Because internet. Some people might have that logical way of thinking that I do regarding this. Other people might think that this was unexpected and may be a bad move. And then there are some people who might think that Bethesda can't come up with a decent shooting system of their own, so they have to copy pasta one from a pre-existing game, which may be the start of a lot of debate. Which brings us to the point of today's lesson revolving around originality. You ready for it, readers? It doesn't exist. As a storyteller and an imaginative thinker in general, I can pretty much confirm with you all, or anyone who's willing to listen to my black ass, that to a certain extent there's no such thing as an original idea. They've all been done before, and there's plenty of proof. And no, I'm not going to list it on this video. If you want proof, just look at the fucking world around you. You'll see that there are plenty of things that have taken inspiration from other things and have built upon that. Even the articles regarding Fallout 4 situations say that Bungie's Destiny was a direct inspiration. Well, what does this mean? Well, this means that they looked at that property, like the product that they distributed, and worked to adapt that idea within Bungie's property in their own material. Which is the second point I would like to make out about originality. Yes, there is no such thing as an original idea anymore, but it's how you deliver it to the masses and what type of unique touch you make on that non-original idea that will make people either love it or loathe it. The Hunger Games trilogy was inspired by Greek myths. Motherfuckers love it. 50 Shades of Grey was originally a Twilight fanfic that got worked around with original characters and bad writing. And motherfuckers love it, I guess. Batman, inspired by characters in Pulp Fiction like Zorro and The Shadow. A non-original idea, but given a unique twist by its creator, and distributed among the masses as something fresh and new. But keep in mind, there is indeed a fine line between someone's take on an original idea and blatant plagiarism. And I like to imagine it's pretty obvious to be able to tell the difference between the two. But in Bethesda's case, I don't really count this as blatant plagiarism. It's just one video game company who noticed something another video game company did very well, I might add, and was inspired by that thing to make their own thing better. which from what I found out, a lot of Fallout fans were initially complaining about. So, I mean... But yeah, don't look at this as Bethesda not coming up with any original ideas for how to handle their shooting aspect of Fallout on their own. Look at it as a way of Bethesda complimenting Bungie for what they did with Destiny. As a player of both franchises, both long-term and short-term, I do like Destiny's setup despite me not necessarily being an FPS person. And I can acknowledge in the past few games, the shooting side of Fallout 4 was not their strong point. But they're actually looking to treat the FPS aspect with just as much time and dedication as their RPG aspect. And what better way of trying to treat that aspect right than to take inspiration from a company that did get it right. It's just another form of how people help each other out and not be greedy fucks. After all, if it wasn't for being inspired by other video games, Dragon Age Inquisition wouldn't have been as expansive as it was, because they were inspired by the open worldness of Skyrim, thus making Dragon Age Inquisition at least 50 times bigger than Dragon Age Origins, and 1,000 times bigger than Dragon Age 2. But yes, readers, your homework for today. Leave in the comment section below something you like, be it a character, a fandom, whatever, that you can tell had inspirations of other works, but love it just the way it is anyway. Which, in all honesty, shouldn't be that hard to do. Anyway, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.